Hello everyone and welcome back to the When There Goes with me, Calvinator, and Jimbo is also here. We'll be discussing the latest MFL updates, transfers, developments, and so much more as always. And one important note, this is not financial advice. You could also say not tactical advice or scouting advice. So do your own scouting or hire a director of Metaverse Football. We have another manager spotlight today. Someone else is here with us in the studio. So Jimbo, please introduce our guest.
Yeah, of course. I thought I'd fancy introducing a guest on the pod this time, so we swapped roles for the intro. So today on the pod, sort of delighted to be joined by someone who's currently in their first season of playing MFL and doing very well, might I add. But also, they have their own podcast, predominantly on SoRare, but has now expanded into MFL2 with episodes featuring Mathurin and, plug it, myself as well. We welcome into the Wenduck studio SRMonkey, otherwise known as David from the SorareRamble. Welcome to MFL and the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, guys, and thank you for having me on board. Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I've been an avid listener for a month, but I have consumed quite a lot of the episodes since then, starting, of course, with Hoodwink's episode.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us, and I'm really looking forward to talk about your experience and also about the pod. I also want to know about your plans and how that's going. So way more about that later in the proper spotlight part. First we'll do updates part, but also now I guess we have some announcements and things. So maybe the Spotify Wrapped, we should start with that. Jimbo, you were sharing a lot of things on our Twitter account. So what could you tell us about some?
Yeah, well, what can I tell you? It's always one of my favourite times of the year. I'm a Spotify user, so everyone who uses Spotify, you'll have your Spotify Wrap. But as content creators having the podcast on Spotify, we also get our own podcast Spotify Wrapped as well. So, and it was our first full year of doing the podcast because we started September 2023. So it was nice to get a full year's worth of information here. And I just want to give a big shout out, really, a huge shout out to everyone who's listened this year. It's been phenomenal. Just a quick summary of some of the stats that we got. An increase of 139% increase in listeners, 490% increase in streams, an increase of 181% in followers, which is phenomenal. And the one I really, really love here is we are the top 10 show for 94 listeners, the top 5 show for 77 fans, and we are the number 1 show and podcast on Spotify for 47 supporters or fans, listeners, amazing people, which I think is phenomenal. I can go even further. You want more? I can give you more. 72% of our listeners discovered us this year, which is great. And the top episode, one of our most recent ones as well, episode 60, season 1 with Mathurin, our top episode, which I think is phenomenal. We've been listened to in 21 different countries, the top being USA, no real shock there. And interestingly, our youngest audience is from Italy. And then what we also, Frag it is, little clue to the Italians. But what's really, really interesting is we get to see what our top 3 music genres are from our listeners. So apparently the top 3 is lo-fi, indie, and dance pop. So if you listen to the pod and you know you're an avid listener of one of those 3, then you've made up our podcast listeners' top 3. So that's lo-fi, indie, and dance pop. I'm trying to in my head picture which listeners would associate with those genres. But maybe they'll tell us. Maybe they'll tell us in the Discord on Twitter.
Yeah. So
what is considered dance pop?
I don't know.
Good question.
Yeah.
I guess it's more like poppy dance music, electronic. Yeah, electronic. That's like, that's how I would say.
Just swap the words
you know,
around.
in the club, you have those kind of basic pop songs.
I would say like dance pop is if you went to a club and the dance floor was, it's the massive square light up tiles, like the disco floor, and you sort of that sort of music that you'd be listening to on that floor of a club. Like for anyone in England, if you go to a pop world, I imagine it's sort of the music that's in pop world.
Maybe it's all the American users that really love their like Europop and stuff like that.
Yeah,
maybe.
So for Wendirk live or a meetup, we have our beers, our chocolate bars, and now kind of the genre of music we should play. That's like we're getting there to creating the best circumstances.
Yep.
Speaking about live, we went live last Monday.
Well, hey!
Maybe let's not speak about the result. But yeah, you won the When Derby again. Oh no, sorry, the first was a draw. You won it now.
First was a draw. I won it. Unbeaten. I think the Wyverns are unbeaten in the last 4 When Derbies now. So we're not quite getting onto the 16 years of Norwich beating Ipswich or Norwich not losing to Ipswich, but we'll get there soon, mate. We'll get there soon. Maybe next season if we play each other.
So that was on the last Monday, and on Wednesday we're planning to stream the final match day of season 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that's Wednesday, the 11th of December, last match day of season 1. We'll be streaming from Ice to Diamond like we did a couple of weeks ago. So you've got some free time in the evening. Come join us on Twitch at the When Dirtcast for a little bit of a watch along and come experience the drama of the final match of the season. So will you be escaping relegation? Will you be clinching the title, clinching the playoffs? If you got some time, come tune in. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, and exactly. And now there's going to be so much more at stake than usual. It was only about the title, and now relegation battles. So there will be so many interesting matches. Also, if you have some matches you want us to watch with you, maybe you can become champion, maybe you're fighting relegation, let us know and we can stream those if you're there. All right, let's start with the updates. So our MFL moment of the week. Jimbo, what was your moment of the week?
I'll keep mine nice and short and sweet. I had a couple more escapees from the tier jail. Last week I had my first one, but this week I've gained 2 more. 2 more have been released. Not really sure the best way to describe it, but we've had a 17-year-old escape from jail. Out of context, that's probably horrendous. Yeah, from juvenile. And then we've also had a 64 to 65 rated player. So I'm quite happy with them. They're the moments of the week. Some of them, they've escaped from tier jail. I've still got a few more who are looking to make the push. But moment of the week for me is I've got more players out of tier jail. And the uncommon to rare one, sort of the one I'm most looking forward to, because grey to green is great, but I feel like green to blue just feels like more of a emphatic and better rarity change, in my opinion.
They've really been spending some time in the jail gym, haven't they?
Yeah, they have been
doing iron in the yard.
They do. They do spend a lot of time in tier jail. Yes. Well, speaking about, I have like 2, like a highlight, like very good moment and maybe a very bad one. So let's start with the positive, the tier jail. So I got my second Lego. Who escaped the rare tier jail. So that was super. I shared also in a tweet. So that was really great to see. Like I just opened up my HQ and suddenly I saw like 2 purple guys there. So I was like, well, what? And then I realized he went up. So that was really cool. But yeah, things aren't going well in all departments because the Corsairs we watched on Monday, we watched against Bosco. And I lost, and that kind of kick-started the whole like negative kind of run. I kept losing against my direct rivals. And the relegation battle in this league is crazy, but yeah, I'm now 1 point, I think, off the relegation zone. And it goes up until, I think, the 5th team. So like 5th to 12th, everyone is still in this relegation battle. So maybe on Wednesday we'll have a very interesting match. Like, will I go down to silver or not? But
you said last week on the pod, for some teams, you're not too bothered about being relegated. It's almost a wish rather than a hope I escape.
Well, yeah, you could. Let's say I wouldn't be too upset because then in silver I can have a very good high finish, get more awards from that, and maybe have a championship then under my belt. So then go full for this title race in silver. And maybe then I can, between Black Sea and Corsair, both in silver, I can kind of exchange players, kind of see it in a different perspective. So it's not all too bad. It's not going to be super drama. I'm not going to rage quit on stream if I relegate. That's not going to happen. So people like to see that, a bit of raging.
Yeah,
and,
a bit of emotion.
A bit of emotion, but we'll be okay.
How are
They've
you guys looking so far this season? Like, have you got any teams that are in the relegation battle?
That's I think only one. And that's my top tier team. So that's and I have 2 championship battles. One in ice, but I was kind of stacking that. Although Quinny's Barcelona is really now threatening that title, and I'm playing him. I lost against him, I think, yesterday. So, and the Caballeros in bronze. That's still a big title race. So
Yeah.
there's still interesting things going on.
And then I've got both my clubs are sat in second at the moment. One, the Wyverns have a game. They've played an extra game, but they play bottom of the league tonight. But then my final game is against top of the league. So I sort of really need to win this game tonight. Sit there tomorrow praying, or whenever the next game is, tomorrow when I've got an off game, that results go my way, and then hopefully we can bag playoffs for both clubs. Because I think this season will be the easiest for playoffs. That's probably going to come back and haunt me, and I've jinxed it, and I'm going to end up losing in the final game or the first game of the playoffs. But I think the weaker pots from the leagues above, divisions above, will mean you could have some easier playoffs this season. But yeah, David, what about yourself? Moment of the week, and how your club's getting on?
Moment of the week, I guess winning the cup semi-final. We sort of talk about more about how I'm doing, but I have a squad of 25 players, but half of them are like, low 60s, 50s. So I have a decent first 11 that I was playing in the league, and I didn't expect to do particularly well in the cup, especially when I didn't get put in. I got put in second one up. Is it Rivals? Yeah, Rivals is the second one, isn't it?
Yes, Rivals, Aspirants, Rivals.
Yeah, so I was put in with quite a few decent managers, so I didn't really expect it. I ran my real reserves the first 2 games and managed to scrape a win, and then I thought, well, maybe I'll just run the decent guys next time, and sort of, it's just happened, and now I'm in the final. But yeah,
nice. So you got that to look forward to on shoot. Yeah, you can't complain. It's extra. Even if you lose, it's extra MFL to earn, and it's extra games for progression as well. So it's a win-win, I think, for most people. Then most people would love to be in that position.
I actually miss it on days when there's no 2 games. Like the 2 games I love, I can just sit down, watch the first one, second one comes up. Yeah.
But also, I think in the league you are winning a lot, right? You're top of the table by a lot, or not?
Yeah, I guess that comes on to sort of my whole strategy for...
Yeah, so you can rotate, and you can just put your best team, right, in the cup final, I reckon, or...
I'm going to put my best team in the cup final, definitely.
Yeah.
But I want a 100% record.
Okay. So you want you don't want to sacrifice that also.
I was the sad man yesterday who thought, I wonder how many teams now have a 100% record, and there was 2 in ice, and I think both of them have now either drawn or lost 1 game. And then I thought, oh God, have I got to go through every single league? And I thought, well, ice surely has the most, and it doesn't. Stone has the most by a long way. So I had to go through 50 leagues looking, and I don't think there is any other manager that has a 100% record. I could be wrong. I could have skipped over a league by accident. But so if I could do that first season, that'd be amazing. And I think I wanted to try and speed rush those first 2 seasons, try and get double back-to-back promotions. And I bought players to try and do that. Although now I'm realising that next season will be definitely a lot tougher. So I think the season's going well. I can't complain, but it doesn't feel fair. I don't want to brag too much because I've bought some good players and I'm playing against players that haven't done the same. So it will all even out eventually. But yeah.
But in the cup, you should get credit for the cup. That's you're putting on the same overall, right? So
yeah, that's quite satisfying.
That's and winning the double, that's also a great achievement, and then 100% win rate, so that would be a great season.
I'm also trying to get the Golden Glove, Golden Boot, and the Golden Assist. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, there's no trophy
though
makers at the moment.
No, but you get a little emblem, don't you, on the player on the thing, like a little
There's no trophy for the assist maker in the league.
It's requested by many people.
It's been requested, but it's always been Golden Glove and Golden Boot. But
okay.
Golden Glove, Golden Boot? What would you call the assist one if we were to give it Golden
What are they called?
Golden leg?
Ball?
No,
or something
yeah,
like that?
it could be golden ball. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, well, it can
But
be like
there's-
MVP, highest player rating of the league.
I
You
think
get,
there
like,
should be.
Golden
Yeah.
Ball or like Ballon d'Or of the league. Or something. That would be nice.
It's not one of those that you only ever rant about when it's your player who's made the most assists
Yeah.
in the league. Other than that, you're like, I'm not really bothered by it. But then when it's your player, you're like, no, we need it. We need it.
But yeah, it would be nice to win all three of those as well. So I'm not asking for much, am I?
No, not at all. Not at all.
That would be an amazing season. Okay, let's so later on in this episode we'll talk way more about your team and your experiences, and now we'll move on with the updates. So the dev updates, one interesting new feature maybe you saw in your inbox a lot of messages suddenly. That is because you can now sign pre-contract agreements. So in anticipation of the new season, you can already sign those. It's a new feature. And I think it's really much better than the deadline opens and suddenly you get so many contract offers. You can already start planning ahead with those pre-contract agreements. So great feature that has been added. Then the engine updates. So Quentin has been hard at work on this next version of the game engine, and they updated the experimental one. So you can now do more friendlies with the experimental engine, which has been updated. So they fixed a bug that a player was rushing a bit too much towards the opposing goal. And also balance, that I think the keyword balancing. So they continue to analyze and balance the engine. The player progression, so that's now fully automated. That's great. So 9 a.m. UTC. So I think that's 10 p.m. British, 11 p.m. French time or not?
9 a.m. UTC is the same as English time, right?
Oh, because now they changed
because the time,
the winter
change,
daylight saving.
So it's nice to wake up in the morning and drive to work and do a bit of work in the morning, and then give it an hour at 10 o'clock, and I'm training's done.
There they are.
It's quite nice.
Okay.
That, yeah.
So 10 p.m. for the continent and 9 for you guys, 9 a.m. Okay, so that's very good news. That's fully automated. So now you can set your alarms for progression changes. And finally, fatigue email reminder. So if you are a manager and you forget to rotate your guys and they're getting super tired, you can get an email that you should be a better manager. I want a quick question. Some people reacted negatively. They said that's part of the game to check, and then you activate those managers again. And Jimbo, you said before that there was one team in your league, or there's someone who's woke up and then started rotating, and there's some debate. Should you do this? Should you?
I think
notify?
I think they should notify people if it gets to a level. I think it's no different to if you play any sort of app on your phone and notifies you going, let's just throw back to Clash of Clans or whatever, or Clash Royale. Be like, you can open a chest today, or you can collect your elixir, or whatever it would be. It's no different to an app being like, by the way, your players are fatigued. Go check on them. You still got to act on it, and still got to do something off the back of that email. But
You've got to think as well that if people haven't bothered to change their teams, that what difference is an email going to make? I can't imagine that.
Exactly.
You forgot that game I'm playing.
Exactly.
I think it's almost covering their backs as if to say, well, we're doing something to help.
We told you. We told you so.
And it's not like people go, I never got notified. And they go, well, actually, on the 9th of December at 7:45 a.m., we pinged you an email straight to your inbox. But, talking about inboxes, I want to shout out someone who's been developing outside of MFL, and that is Alexis. And I want to shout out his email notifications for the daily reports of player progression. I know many of us always go to your HQ or your clubs, and you click on progression, last 24 hours, and you can just never tell if that was yesterday's game or yesterday's training, because today's training's not started. But Alexis has now brought out a beta feature that you can set which time each day you'd like an email to arrive in your inbox, and it will give you a summary of the day's progression, which I think is great. So you can always remember which, for me, it happens at 10:30 at night, and I used it for the first time the other day, and I think you also tweeted out that 33 people are now using that feature, which is a great way for you to track which players are progressing by how much daily, which I think is great. Rather than last 24 hours, it's actually a daily occurrence, which I think is great. Do either of you signed up for that or use that feature yet?
Not yet. I think I did retweet it, and I know Alex has been working super hard on his site, and yeah, it's getting better and better with the day and more useful. So I think he's also getting more traffic, more people using it, and that's great. I still have to sign up, but I think it's a great plan. Because now I always go there, go to progression, the last 24 hours, and then you like switch with this overall, and yeah, it takes a lot of time. So to have like a quick overview, that's great.
Yeah,
to have.
I'm literally just doing it now.
Well, amazing. So one more sign up for for the notifications. So let's then move to the Diamond League, the Diamond update, and how my Magos de Madrid are doing. So we have entered the final stage of the Diamond League Season 1. 3 more matches to go, and quite a lot can still change. We have a battle for the first place between Meta Mercenaries and Home Legends, 44 and 40 points. Then we have quite a big battle with me, Magos, and Bistione and BFC Barcelona for 3rd spot. Some teams in the middle where not too much can happen anymore. Londinium, Tango, Samba. Although Samba is still not totally safe.
I think Samba
from
could still
relegation.
Sneak in. Yeah, I think they're still... They're not
they're a little... It could be, but the main relegation battle for direct and playoff is between Basel, Berlin, Parke, and K Socios. I think K Socios with 10 points. That is, for sure. Well, for sure they have to play some or playoff, but direct relegation looks like pretty much likely unless they have to win 3 times and also with a lot of goals. So they are pretty much directly relegated, and then Parke and Berlin can still avoid that direct relegation. But yeah, there's like a couple of battles. I think 3 main one is for the first spot, the 3rd place, and the relegation. And we're gonna zoom in a little bit on that. So Jimbo, you have kind of for the first spot battle between Meta and OM Legends. You wrote down the fixtures, the last 3 fixtures, right?
Yeah. So what I did is for the top 4 and then the bottom 5, I sort of went and had a look at their run-ins, and obviously I've taken their current league standings of 1 to 12, and I've almost flipped those numbers. So I've given Meta Mercenaries 12 and then K Socios 1. And I've gone through each of their remaining fixtures. So for example, Calvert, if you were to play... So your next game is against Londinium, and they're currently 6th. So I've written down the number 6, then done the same thing for the other 2 fixtures, add them up, and then that... Obviously, it's a snapshot in time of right now, but can almost give you a little bit of an indication as to how easy or how difficult a particular team's run-in is going into the final 3 games of the season. So I'm going to start with the top 4 teams in that first place, because this is quite interesting. So Meta Mercenaries, obviously 4 points ahead, play Tango, Samba, and then yourself. OM Legends and Piscioni Milano is an even more interesting one, because they've obviously both got 3 games each, but they play each other in the cup final. So that's a really interesting one. As well as playing each other in the league the game after as well. So if OM Legends, Samba, Basel, and then Milano twice. Milano play Berlin, then Tango, then OM Legends twice. And then yourself, Londinium, K Socios, and Meta. But when you do all my little bit of maths, it turns out there's actually not much difference between the difficulties of all your run-ins. So for Meta, it's a score of 20. OM Legends score of 19, and then both Milano and Magos with a score of 20, which at this snapshot in time suggests you've all got a relatively similar run-in. But when it gets really interesting, if I flip that around and I'll go bottom 5, because I think Samba they're still in that. Obviously, K Socios, they don't win tonight on the day of recording, Sunday the 8th. They don't win tonight, they go down. They're relegated because they can't catch up to 9th then. If we do the same workings out I just did, Samba, who are currently 4 points clear, have the hardest run-in with a score of 29 out of what would it be, out of like
it sounds like a lot.
29, because they play OM Legends, Meta Mercenaries, and then Tango. The one that's really interesting, when we get down to 10th and 11th spot with Berlin and Parque Ibirapuera, where SV Berlin, Fancy Gaffer, they play Milano, and then they play Parque Ibirapuera, and then they play Basel. So they play
Oh, wow.
a tough next game, and then they play a team just one place above them, one place below them. So that gets really interesting. But then actually, Parque Biapuera, who are second bottom, they have the easiest run-in with K Socios, and then they play Fantasy Gaffers Berlin, and then they play BFC Barcelona, which obviously are a difficult side, but they play the worst and the third worst team running into the final 3 games of the season. So it's a lot of rambling I've just done, but ideally my key takeaways are the top 4 teams all have a very similar run in terms of difficulty, and those bottom 5, Parque Biapuera and SV Berlin, have the easiest run in, and Samba have by far the hardest final 3 games. So it's going to be really interesting to see if that actually pans out to what I've said it is.
Yeah. So then, based on that, what is your prediction for who's going down?
My prediction: K Socios go down.
Yes.
I think that Ibira Prayer will go down, and I think that Basel will go down. I think that
Berlin will.
I think Berlin. I think it's either Berlin or Samba who's going to finish 9th. If it's Berlin, obviously Samba are free, but I think that Basel go automatic. I think basically Berlin and Basel will swap. I think Meta Mercenaries will stay top, and I think you can sneak into 3rd on the basis that 2nd and 3rd have to play each other in the cup. An extra go of fatigue. They want to win that cup. So that's what I think.
I thought it's quite interesting. Like, I'm sure Basel, when I last looked at Diamond, and it's been a while, I'm sure he was near the top.
He was.
So it's actually a bit of a shock. Look, what's going on?
He's had a horrendous remainder of the season. Because when we had Quinny on the pod 2 episodes ago, he was top of the league with 10 points, and in the space of 14 days, he's only picked up 9 points.
That's incredible.
So he's gone from, beating Magos de Madrid on the first game of the season. Everyone was going, oh, maybe Basil's turned it around for season 1 in MFL. And no, he looks like he could be, I think, switching from the relegation playoff straight into the automatic relegation.
Yeah, the rocket start and then it just kept tanking. And
I think kudos for you as well, Calver, because I know that you only really got that team, didn't you, to start building and working on, days before the season started.
Yeah,
I know
it was quite intense. Yeah. And
so to finish, even if you finish 4th or even 5th, it's pretty incredible that you've got them to that stage, and
100%.
They're definitely staying up and everything. So kudos to you. Well done.
Yeah, I'm really super also surprised myself that it went so well, and I also won against Tango Big Wilbert yesterday, and it's at one point you can say it's just a lot of luck, but maybe it was also just a setup and just kind of creating the best circumstances. So in my video also, I made a video today about how it went, and if you look at the XG, I scored this week 18 goals out of 10 XG. Wow. So I score way more than my XG, a positive ratio, and then the opponents is -2. They score 2 goals less than the XG I get. So somehow something is clicking and working. Or Duff said, well, if you call your team after magicians, maybe that's what you get. So it's that works. But yeah, as a right of my first goal was avoiding relegation. That is done. 7th spot is also secure now. 5th spot, if I win today against Londinium, that is also secured. And then the 3rd spot as Jimbo, that could be a possibility. So it's going really well. Then before this episode, I also said to Jimbo, I'm playing Meta Mercenaries on the final day. And Ronin has an 8% stake. So if Ronin is really evil and already champion, he might put his B squad there. But I think Ronin likes to win everything. So I don't think he's going to do that. But
yeah, it's kind of crazy when you look at the standing that he's only lost 1 game this season.
Yeah, exactly.
And the team that's won, or the team that's lost the second least amount of games is 5, which is a considerable difference. So you could almost argue that's the 4 points that he's gained on OM Legend, just because he's drawn 4 more games rather than losing 4 more games than the rest of the league has. So it shows that even though Jose Mourinho hates drawing, That actually, in some cases, MFL actually works to get draws rather than just stink it with a loss instead.
Yeah. No, yeah. So Meta definitely with like 9 points to win, 4 points ahead. They have quite good papers, let's say, to win. Good chance. To be continued. And probably then Wednesday we will maybe see the decisive matches in for relegation, the title, and the third spot. So stay tuned for that. Let's move on with the market moves. So not as many new managers as before, although I didn't get to like the 2 days. But I saw Jesse, Palma, Gatone 17, Donny, Galen, Stadi, Balin Pop 51, Rike, and Tone joined. And new user of the week is JBlaze23. And why did I make a new user? Because I was talking to him quite a bit, and then I get a real feeling of like, why do they join MFL? He wants to build an all-American team. He got a Scottish club though, but he wants to build an all-American team, which is pretty. That's great, and also not too big, but just have one club. Maybe it's like the nice quality approach. Let's call it the Jimbo approach. 1 club, 2 clubs.
How generous, thank you.
Just focus on that, develop players and all Americans. So I like sound great. So all the best to him and welcome to MFL. Then other market moves. Common, I saw Galson Factory was sweeping the floor. Tons of $1 commons he was buying. Also Metalurg, but a lot of young uncommons. Kind of a hot market in general. Then for the rare players, I put Shekel there. We've been mentioning a couple of times on the pod, and he got so many rares. He took over pretty much Twitch's agency. So Twitch seems to have left MFL, and Shekel took that over, but also from other guys. He bought a lot of guys. Then Legendary, Profound Soda has been quite busy with buying players. And he is the owner of Parque. So he's a bit late to the party, I would say. He's buying like new players, but Parque, you were mentioning them. They might go down. So, but then hopefully with that he can go from plat straight back to diamond. So maybe he's hoping for that. He's trying to strengthen his team a little bit, and maybe it is also connected a little bit to the splash. So, my clubs first.
Oh yeah,
first my clubs. I have my story about the club.
Tell us your story, Cal, because. I'll give some context around this or introduce it for you. You sold your Air and Colder Navigators for an Iron Division club, which I think the Wyverns have beaten before in the Wen Derby, for $215 plus a 17-year-old 70 rated player. Tell us about how this came about, and because maybe like a few of us saw that sales bot and went, "Oh, an Iron Club for $215. What's going on there?"
Yeah, well, first of all, about why I'm selling clubs. Like I had like 9. I want to also downscale a bit more this quality. I want to test. I barely have like time to test for like 2 teams, and then have like 9 teams and do it properly. I want to scale down a little bit, and I posted in Discord. That I was willing to do it, and someone reacted for my stone team, so I sold that for 80. That's like a normal price. But yeah, 215 sounds like a lot, right? Why is that? I was talking to Tiger Mila, who bought it, and I just put the floor price for an English Iron Club. I think English clubs have a premium because it's famous cities, Premier League, right? It's home of football. Football's coming home, so I think that's
a Leeds club, right?
Leeds, yeah, exactly. It's Leeds. So I think, and Bournemouth also sold for 160. I saw, so it's Iron clubs from England have kind of a premium. So I just set that floor, plus for the 17-year-old uncommon, I set the floor for that price. A little bit of a bundle discount, and then we arrived on 215. So it's not 215 purely for the club. If you take away the player price, I think you also have this 160. But still, for an Iron Club in the current club market, that's pretty good, I think. Because people have been selling like clubs for low prices. We've been talking about that. They were afraid of relegation. Interesting enough. prices have gone down quite a bit, while player prices have gone up quite significantly. So that's an interesting trend. But yeah, that's a story behind me selling that club. Over to you for Splash.
Splash of the week. So, Profound Soda is the splash of the week this week. Well, not him being the player, him being the manager, who purchased Raul Moldovanu. Hang on, sorry. I had in my head what this was going to be for ages, and then I went to go read it. I just slaughtered it straight away. Let me start that again. So, his name is Raul Moldovanu, age 20, from Romania. He's a right mid, left mid, 87 rated for $800. That's how much Profound Soda bought him from Eric. And what I found was really interesting about this purchase, I was looking in the air table for the splash for this week. And do you want to have a guess when this player was listed on the marketplace?
When he was listed.
When he was listed. So he was purchased on the 2nd of December. Do you want to have a guess when he was listed?
Maybe quite a while ago.
Well,
I think it's like a longer horizon. I think a couple months or something.
25th of July.
Yeah,
nearly
so
half a year ago, which I thought was quite interesting considering things, like his age of 20 and his rating and player progression. That hadn't have been taken off and almost, put back on the marketplace again. To give some more context around why I think that's interesting, when you look at a lot of the listing and then the date and time of listing and the date and time of purchase for legendary players are usually only about 3-4 weeks between them, maybe. But to have 6 months, I think, is rather a large difference. Maybe also something happened. What happened to me with the goalie I sold? Taggart was tagging me in the chat like, you sold the goalie, but that player also progressed. So you list a player and then he progresses, and then suddenly he becomes much more relatively cheaper, right? Yeah.
So I guess that's gonna happen right now. So if you're listing players, you maybe forget about them, you put them for a good market value price, and then suddenly they progress by 1 or maybe by 2, and then suddenly they become a bargain.
Yeah.
So you have to, with progression, keep checking that. They actually list, are they progressing, and then is it still a fair price?
Yeah.
Or could you ask more?
Yeah.
So progression premium discount. I call
progression
it.
premium
discount. Or hashtag.
David, I saw that you this week, the last day or so, has purchased quite a few players, some upgrades for your season in the division above next year, is it?
Yeah, it's all about next season now. So my striker situation has been dire. The guy's okay and he's had some decent progression, but he just can't seem to, I don't know, he's just incapable of scoring. He gets 10 chances a game and scores maybe 1. But so I have paid up and brought in a new guy for next season, and he's got slightly better shooting. He's got 90 shooting, 76 rated, and best part, he's only had 1 progression this season, which I quite like because it makes me think that there's more to come. And I don't want to buy a player that's had 10 progression first season, because then you're thinking, maybe he's capped out, and then I'm paying the premium for someone who's already capped out. So been looking at players that haven't necessarily had massive progression so far this season, but yeah. Sorry if I'm you can see me cheering in the background. My game's actually taking place.
Did you actually check if the striker you bought has been scoring a lot? Currently, is he?
Yes, I always check and see what their averages are and how they're doing, and he's doing okay, but he's not in a team that's challenging for a title or anything. So
okay, so that might also. Yeah, we talked about it before, right?
I think he's in bronze at the moment, and now he's going to be dropping down to stone for next season. So
I like that you asked that question, Calvin, and David. You said that you do look at how the player is getting on the current team, because you mentioned right at the beginning we introduced you that one of the first episodes you listened to was Hoodwinks, and I fondly remember Hoodwinks stating that one of his methods of or scouting methods was to actually look at how they're performing in clubs, not just look at stats and progression, age, and then just buy the players, think it'll be a fit, actually seeing how they fit into the systems. Maybe that's a trickle-down effect of some of Hoodwink's MFL knowledge passing down to yourself, David, and hopefully Hoodwink's doing all right, so you'll reap the benefits of that knowledge as well.
Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, I think I don't know. In my mind, I mean, yes, it is definitely, and I remember listening to that, and that definitely stuck with me. But I think in my mind, like some players could be perfectly equal across everything, have the same stats, but for whatever reason, they just do better. You know, they have a higher average rating. Now, I don't know whether that's fact. I don't know whether that's coded into the game. In my mind, maybe it is. And so, you know, why not? When you're researching and scouting players, go into a little bit more detail. But
Yeah, that's good. Okay, time to talk about IRL MFL. Some quick, maybe FPL update from Jimbo. I have one little story from the Dutch League again, and maybe David also has a little moment. So, what's your IRL MFL, Jimbo?
I quick IRA MFL FPL.
IRL MFL FPL.
Yes. So this game week we had a cancellation of the Everton versus Liverpool game thanks to Storm Dara. Is it pronounced David?
Dara, I think. Yeah.
Is it Dara? Yeah. I'm not. I wouldn't think you, Calvi, you'd know it because obviously you're not in England. But it was Dara, right, David? It was Dara.
yeah,
It was Dara, which put the game, which meant the game was postponed. Obviously, from a Sorare point of view, that buggered up quite a few people. Nodding your head there, David. I imagine you're one of the unfortunate victims of that postponement.
I've got like 120 so rare Liverpool cards. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's a heavy into that. And then, but fortunately, what it does mean for some of those people who play FPL is that there'll be a double game week for Liverpool later on in the season, and I've seen some predictions that it could be, you know, Liverpool versus Everton and Leicester, or Everton and Wolves, which are two really juicy games for, say, a captain Salah or triple captain Salah.
Yeah, no, I suspect it will be February.
Yeah.
Providing that we, like, as we should do probably now, but finish in the top half, the top few spots in the Champions League. That's our first spot anyway. But
Yeah. Is that because when the Champions League then have their like playoff?
yeah,
You'll
there's
go
2
directly
weeks. They're
through,
back-to-back
yeah.
playoff weeks, and there'll be weeks where we don't have games. So
Yeah, nice.
yeah, it's been very frustrating from that point of view. But life goes on. At least we didn't lose.
But yeah, that's all I had to say about the FPL for this week.
Okay. So I mentioned before the XG, and that with Magos, we are like really overperforming in that, scoring way more goals than our XG. There's also another thing called XP, so expected points. And I want to talk about it in the context of the Dutch league. So Ajax were high in the chart of, let's say they have a lot of points, but their XP was pretty low. So they got way more points than they kind of deserved, actually. Also Utrecht, very high in Dutch league, have that case. But AZ has less points than their XP, so they're underperforming. And today they played against each other, and AZ beat Ajax 2-1. So some justice, they can finally score more points now, and maybe, let's say, settle that score that they are underperforming and Ajax is overperforming. They also got a bit lucky. We say lucky Ajax in the Netherlands, that they always get lucky with refs and getting away and kind of still getting the 3 points in the end. So
I think
I'm happy.
Alkmaar have had like a really unlucky spell with their wingers, haven't they? Like, you know, they've had quite a few injuries this season.
Yeah.
And
really,
when they get injured, they've got really youthful replacements that come through.
Mm-hmm.
So the strength isn't quite as good. But I follow them quite a bit, actually. But I follow the Dutch league quite a bit.
Yeah, no, they have one of the best policies in terms of talent development and like youth. They won the Champions League for youth teams 2 seasons ago. So they have an amazing academy, and then sometimes they have to bring them, and then it's quite unpredictable. Also against Tottenham, I think they play in Europa League. They also played well, good, but then in the end they lose, and that's been the story of the season. They deserved more, but now they won. So maybe in MFL, my connection is we can have maybe Busties, XP, expected points.
I prefer XP as expected passion. I heard it called expected passion, and I think that's much better. You know, like you win a game, show the passion. How much passion was there in that game? XP was off the charts. I'd much prefer that.
Maybe you can also have that in
the expected
in
passion.
All right. I see we already for 45 minutes and we're still updates. So let's quickly do some beers. Beer top 3. So the current one is, we still have Radler as number 1 by some moves. So the German beer mixed with some lemonade. Then a Brewer's Banquet Original, Taggart's choice from last week. And then Jimbo's, your neck oil from Beavertown is still in there, number 3.
Still lurking at 3rd.
So David, you can pick your favorite beer and kick out one of those places.
Well, for health reasons, I haven't really drank as much as I used to. I used to be quite a big drinker. So I don't drink loads, but when I do like a nice pint of ale. You know, it just goes down so easily. And so probably the one I've drank most of is not necessarily my favourite, but I can't, on the back of my mind, I can't really even think of what favourite. But I do like a pint of London Pride. You know, it just goes down so easily. I could just sort of neck a whole pint straight away. And so I would like to stick that on the chart. And
But for which spot? That's the question.
Well, I don't think it deserves a top spot. What was second again?
The Brewer's Banquet Original by Taggart. Last week he put it in there.
Well, he only put it in there last week, so I think I'm going to have to boot yours, Jimbo.
No! I was about to say it's only an American beer, and then hopefully that would have triggered you to kick it out. But no, it looks like the neck oil.
Well, it was only last week. I've got to let him have a spot for a couple of weeks.
Unbelievable. I thought I'd go a whole season, a whole 50 episodes with mine just stuck in there.
So am I the mean person here that's gone and booted it?
Yeah, basically.
Never invited back.
All right. So was it London?
London Pride.
London Pride. Okay, London Pride is now the third spot. And then we still have our fake beer, Radler, or lemonade beer, one. But I think a really good beer deserves to kick. That's be put.
Yeah, I couldn't put London Pride as first.
London Pride.
Choice.
Okay, so London Pride is first. Then. So Jimbo, unfortunately, your beer is gone.
I know, tough.
Yes. So let's start with the proper manager spotlight with David SRMonkey. So what is your MFL story, actually? How did you find out about MFL? Why did you join, etc.? What can you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, because I do a podcast, I do get quite a lot of emails and sort of DMs from various people sort of wanting me to look at their game. And I think Matt sent a DM through maybe 3 or 4 months ago, maybe longer than that. And I don't even think I had a quick look. I had a look at it. I was just so busy at the time and, didn't have time to sort of concentrate on it. But I had been debating whether to start playing Football Manager again. And I know it's like, it's a wormhole you go down and once you start playing, but I do miss that sort of like, going in there and just sitting down in the morning and then suddenly it's like 8 p.m. at night and you've not had anything to eat. So I just thought, so then anyway, they've announced they're not going to release the game this year. So I thought, okay, well, there's 2 other options, Footium and MFL. And I mentioned that on the SorareRamble Discord, also the Ramble Discord, should we call it these days. And like Hoodwink and Smoggy had both been playing like the game for quite a while. And I just thought, yeah, why not? Let's dive in. And I have to say, I've absolutely loved it. Community we've built, but also the game itself and sort of like, the different strategies people take and the different routes you can go down. And I love the game already.
Yeah, just want to say the community you've built in that Discord is phenomenal, by the way. Obviously joined a couple of weeks ago when David invited me onto the Ramble pod, and I've sort of just ever since every day just coming in there chiming in. I love the in play channel you've got where there's feels like there's about 15-20 of you daily active in there. And when their games are happening, everyone just chucks their link in, everyone watches them, and there's all the reactions. And I think that's great. So I think you should, that community, that sub community, we'll call it, within MFL, created within your own one. I think it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. At this time of the evening, normally I'd sort of go in there and fire right whose games are up, and like people would post their links, and you'd fire them up, and you'd have like 4 matches going on. And I think there was one last night with Hoodwink. I can't remember Kev was one, and another manager as well. I can't remember who they were, but literally all of them won like 5-0, 6-0, and Hoodwink won like 9-0 or something like that. So every time I was flicking between the matches, there was a goal going in. I was just missing everything. But yeah, I think the community is sort of, for any product, is sort of, something that keeps managers engaged. And I think that the product's good, but I think building a community and having people to speak to is sort of like a major part of the game for me anyway. But
yeah, definitely. And I think hopefully we also see this way more, is that there's smaller communities growing and building. So the Ramble, there's the Ballers DAO, that's like another community. Some language chat. I know there's some Telegram groups, some like Italian Telegram.
Yeah, the Italian one, you have a
Spanish,
French day,
yeah. So that's really good that it's like growing a bit more in those smaller communities. And the whole general MFL community is really amazing. Yeah, I think that's one thing we've kept saying, right? It's it grew organically. That's great. Like not like a crazy marketing push, just kind of organically people referring each other. And I think it's very supportive, always new people coming in. So yeah, I agree. That's really what keeps of a great game, great community. And that combination is very good. So we've already heard about your season 1 experience kind of, but in general, how would you say it has been? Like, you've been winning tons of games, but also would you have done something differently in hindsight, knowing what you know now?
Probably not. No, I think that I didn't want to get stuck in ice, and I didn't want to sort of, I was happy enough to sort of like go out and buy a few players to start off with. I'm in a fortunate position on Sorare that, I do tend to sort of, yield a bit of cash every week, and, I can take some of that out when I don't need to buy players on Sorare. And so, it's easy for me to sort of like have a little bit of money to put into a new game. And so I had no problem doing that and buying a few players. Maybe I didn't need to go out and spend quite as much, but, better to lock up promotion. And, as we've been recording, I've just had my 20th win in the league. So now 20,
Congrats.
20 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses, 87 goals scored, 10 against. I've never drawn a match because the 2 games that I lost were both in the cup when I ran out the guys of like 50 rated players. So, yeah. No draw.
Promotion is secured. Or
It
is there a
is,
second,
that was locked up yesterday, yeah.
It gets locked. Okay.
Yeah.
I think you've done a wise thing, a sensible thing by trying to fast track promotion out of ice. I'm a firm believer that ice next year will be, well, I mean, even Stone will probably be quite chaotic. A lot of other users might go, well, actually, I'd like to get out of ice quite quickly as well, because it can really swiftly become a super, super competitive league, because most new users will go there and most new users want to win. Quickest way to win, buy loads of really good players. So I think you've probably done yourself a favour getting promoted in the first season. Yes, it'll be competitive in Stone as well, because you'll have other teams there who will have done the exact same thing in other ice leagues. But I think you'll benefit and enjoy it a lot more than playing up against some really strong teams next season in ice. So I think you've done well. And also 20 wins.
I mean, I've been doing a lot of work on sort of strategy, especially with the new gaming engine. And I know the new engine could change and loads could happen, but just trying to play teams that I potentially will come up against next season using different tactics. And I'm already seeing that it's going to be a little tougher. Hence why I've been diving into the market a bit this weekend. But
Yeah. This is, I think a lot of people, their entry, they start in Ice and Stone, and then they like the game, and then they start buying and stacking teams. And they're a bit too afraid to buy a higher license, like a bronze or iron, while they are also pretty cheap. They went for really low prices. So then you really get this like kind of traffic jam in Stone and Ice of all those stacked teams. I feel a hashtag coming, the stacked traffic jam. But then, it's going to be so competitive, I think, in Stone next season. So I'm really wondering how we will do. Speaking about that, what are your other plans? So for season 2, like you said, you bought some guys to strengthen your team. You've been testing. What do you hope to achieve?
I'd like to do the same again.
Back to back, baby, back to back.
Yeah, I want back-to-back promotions, but that was always the sort of the objective. But after looking through the teams that are doing really well in Stone, they're like have full squads of rare. I think you mentioned him last week, but a mate of mine, McBride Ace, joined and he's doing what McBride does, and that's buy players. And he's bought like a lot of players, like the team that I could potentially be up against next season. Dublin has got like, I think 12, 13, potentially 12 or 13 rares now. If they all go to, if I'm assuming he'll put most of them there. I wouldn't surprise me at all if he has a full team of rare and rotations of like decent cards by the time the season comes around. But I know he's going to be. I don't know whether he's already done it or he's going to do it. But he's buying a third team as well. But
oh, nice.
Yeah,
he's fully gone sort of head first into it, hasn't he? He's been last week we shouting him out for some of the purchases, and then seems to be enjoying it. I
didn't realise how many he'd bought actually, because I was listening to the last week's episode of When Dirk, earlier, and you talk about it, and I had a quick look. I thought, I know he's buying players. I didn't realise he'd bought that many, and it was like nearly 90 players he's bought in the space of a week and a half.
I'd go into the Ramble Discord, see he'd message like, "Oh, I fancy buying some players," and then look at the sales button MFL, and the last 10 transactions are all just him buying, like either low-rated rares or high-rated uncommons. They're really young as well. He's not just sort of buying older players. He's buying like young players who he can have for at least sort of 10, 12 seasons. So he's fully prepared himself for a good play for a while.
He's had another good week on SorareRamble as well. I think he's got like
I saw that. Yeah, he's
$3,000 or something like that coming in. So yeah.
Wow. So and some of that is going straight to MFL. So that's nice.
I would imagine. So, yeah. And his wife, he lets his wife buy a new lamp or something like that. But then he spends.
She gets to pick the player. Maybe he selects 5, and you go, oh, which one should I get? And she picks it.
Yeah, so we've talked a bit about how your team is doing, and I also was wondering about the player progression of your players. Do you have any big talents, or how is it going? Like checking on the progression. Do you, of course, with like having such good players in that league, it might get slowed down because of talent gaps. Is it something you consider, or?
It is a bit, I mean, that's a trade-off, isn't it? Like the trade-off, as soon as I read sort of through the the white paper and the progression and everything when I joined, there's that trade-off between, do I want to get out of ice and win promotion, or do I want to have the optimal scenario for sort of progression? And it was really a no-brainer to start. That I want to get promoted as quickly as possible, and if I sacrifice a bit of progression at the start, I can live with that. Because obviously the higher you go up through the divisions, the higher the rewards, and therefore I could use the MLF then to replace some of those players as you move up through the divisions. In terms of like when I started, I think my pack luck was below average, but the players, I think I got one, and like, was it 3 or 4 packs you get when you start? I had the promotion and then like the starter packs. I can't remember how
3
many.
Starter packs, I think.
Yeah, and I think I got one uncommon and nothing else. But 2 of the guys I did get that were common have actually turned out to be absolutely brilliant. Like a guy called Vito Coppola. Who's 16-year-old. He is, as a right midfielder, he is 64 rated, but as a right winger, he's 73 rated.
Oh wow!
He has 85 shooting, like 82 dribbling, and he's beautiful to watch in a 2D world. But yeah, he's my favourite player. He's the one I'm hanging all my hopes on.
And did he also progress already, or not yet? Like
he's progressed a couple of points. Yeah, nothing crazy, but yeah. But he's he's enjoying himself. He scored some absolutely beautiful free kicks. I think he's got 3 free kicks scored in competitive games so far. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, 85 shooting. That's and definitely in ice. That's huge.
OP.
So I had that, and I had a few other players that were okay, but the rest of them I went out then and bought fairly quickly, and then. I don't know why the blue cards just look so nice, don't they?
They do. I'll tell you what, when they go from green to blue as well, it looks unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I had one actually this week that did that, but it's beautiful.
I've just the time recording, I've had one go from common to uncommon, which I saw the team he was playing for. They won 7-2 just now, so I thought I'd click on his card. I thought Stone, and I've got loaned out to someone else, and they won 7-2. And he got 2 assists, like an 8.4 rating. I was like, let me just click on his card a second. I clicked on it, and it popped up green. I was like, that's unbelievable. It just looks so. But there was I'm gonna feel so bad. I can't remember the person's username now, but suggesting like a little, how could a little animation be, or some sort of piece around when a player jumps that rarity, rather than just clicking on it and go, oh, they've changed colour. Maybe it's sort of, you click on the card and suddenly it like pops out the screen and Pokemon evolves into a green or a blue or a purple.
Spins around and then like colour.
Yeah, just something like that. That'd be
like
really
a little Pokemon evolution kind of.
Yeah, it'd be really neat, wouldn't it? Just even if it's like a couple seconds long, it just the card rotates a few times and then changes colour. How cool would that be? And you can almost like maybe share that animation, because you know all the templates we've got to share with the standings and the results. A little sharing GIF maybe, or MP4 or whatever of rarity of the tier gel. That'd be cool.
I think Lucas will work on something.
Yeah, the guy put it in the idea suggestion. So I told him to. But yeah,
I think in terms of like, I was going to say, in terms of overall progression, like it's definitely like the cards at the top, like because I've got such a big sort of talent gap within the thing. Like my best card I think is 77, but my worst card is 55, and so you know the cards that are sort of those top 4 cards really haven't progressed a huge amount, whereas the ones in the middle, I've seen some decent progression for sort of some of my defenders. I think I've got one that's +6, +5. A defender who's gone from 66 to 71, but there does feel like a bit of a traffic jam at the moment for 74 rated players. Like I've got 5 or 6 now that have gone up to that or are at that. But yeah.
But for me, that's an indication that they're pretty talented if they're in this super stacked team, let's say, with a talent gap and they're still progressing that much. Then could mean that they have pretty good pot. Like imagine they would play in silver with that and they get max XP. So that's pretty nice that they're all still progressing, still getting better in that.
I've got a question for you guys though. Like obviously the first season I'm sacrificing progress. Can players catch up progress without going to dev jail? Or does it just mean their prime age gets shifted back by a year or two?
I think the latter thing. I think they have a certain potential, and then if they get slowed down, maybe their prime age gets a little bit less. Although there is scenarios where they get more XP than 100% with super high player ratings and more cup matches. They can get more XP than 100% without dev jail.
I think that's the piece. Yeah. So prime age itself cannot change. It's generated once and it cannot change. But through XP, through match XP, through the training, the training, with the combination of the match and the training, you can get over 100% XP. So that's where you can then make up that lost ground, essentially.
Of course, because the prime age is encoded into the card, isn't it?
Yeah, it's similar to potential. It's prime age generated once, random, and cannot change. So yeah, I think
that's with
like
100% then or not.
Pardon, say that again?
Is it like, I wonder, like if prime age, that is like, if he normally progresses 100% XP, that's where he ends, then he reaches that prime age then, that, or not? Like in normal
I think we're
circumstances.
overcomplicating this. We know we know prime age well. I think we're over.
Yeah.
So prime age, where they hit 80% of their
potential,
80% of their potential.
Yeah.
And the scenario we're looking at is if we've lost some progression, can we still hit that? Yeah. And I guess if say prime age is 80, prime age is 24 of an 80 rated. It could just be if you lack progression, he just becomes an 80 rated player when he's like 27 or something. But David, you were saying, can I still, if I miss out on progression, can I still get to that prime age, that prime age rating? That is oh my god, I'm David, so you're saying can he reach 80 rated by the time he's 24, which is prime age?
Yeah.
Even if I lack progression at the start. And I think you can. Obviously, if you have spare MFL and you're not going to use him, or you think he's a really good talent, you could chuck him in the dev jail for a couple 3-4 seasons or so, just to guarantee that. But obviously, chances are if it's a player you like, he might be a high-rated player, a young-rated player, and therefore cost a bit of a cheeky penny to pop himself in there.
And what do you guys think is the optimal gap between the top-rated player in your squad and the bottom-rated player to maximize XP progression. I've seen like a lot of the long-term players or like OGs and stuff like that are very, very tight bands on the players. You know, like in Ice, they might have like 65 to 70, you know, and they really keep it tight within the different regions. Different
well,
leagues.
that's what I also have pretty much. I have like, I think four is like where it doesn't hurt, the talent gap. So I think that's what you should strive for. But
I think 4 to 6 is like 2%.
Yeah,
hindrance, which I think is negligible considering through matches and the match rating you can make up for that tiny gap.
Yeah, and with larger agencies, it's much easier to have like those different, like, okay, this is all the players around this rating I'm gonna send to my gold team, around this rating to my silver, and then you just go down from here. So they kind of naturally fall into a place in a group where they're pretty similar. That's at least what's happening with my team. So yeah, I do have that Ice team with like 64 to 70, pretty much. Maybe 1 or 2 outliers, but yeah, that's how it goes.
So I'm looking at the Wyverns now. We're currently standing at 75 being the highest and 68 being the lowest. But that seems quite big. That's an 8-point gap, but that was smaller when the season started because the progression had slightly grown a bit. Because there's lower rated players. I'm the sort of manager who does a full 11 swap, so the weaker players will all play together.
I think that's part of the issue I've had like first season is that, you know, my backups were really, really low rated. So you know, I'm just happy that the guys at the top have moved on at all, to be honest with you. But
yeah, and it's
also top 16, right? I think that determines the training, kind of average.
Top 16, yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes those lower don't influence that average. So that's so that's good to keep in mind.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think top 16, they take the average top 16, and then because what I've also done is just chuck some super low comments in my gold team, so they still like kind of a cheap dev gel that they don't have to pay it, and they still get like the training, and it doesn't impact the talent gap then. Yeah.
What would you guys prefer, optimal progression or optimal promotion? Like, would you prefer, like, Jimbo, you've got 2 teams that could get promoted this year. Are they set up to do well next year, or would they be sort of like mid-table relegation candidates? And would you rather have that sort of like progression from that point of view, or optimal progression for your players within the squads now?
See, the first option, where I think if both clubs get promoted, I think the Wyverns hold bronze. I think my second club, the Espartales and Stone, I think a chance they're in a scrap for relegation the next season. But I'm sort of hoping players progress well enough in a more competitive environment that they could almost grow themselves out of that position and maintain their selves in the Iron Division. But I would much rather have an optimal promotion and then getting into a division where, as a result, a more optimal progression happens. And if they yo-yo like Norwich, then albeit. But that's what I would do. That was what I would do.
What about you, Calver? Because you've got so many teams. It's a little bit...
I think similar. Like I think I said it before. Like you would go nuts if you focus on optimal progression. I run it as like a proper football club, so that you try to aim for the performance in the league. Always go for promotion. Always go for the highest standing. And then you might sacrifice it first a bit, progression, but then if you promote it, it's getting more match XP probably, so you can kind of compensate. And I feel like if you focus too much on play progression, it's not good. Like it kind of messes you up. So focus more on the performance, and then the players will sometimes they will suffer, sometimes they will benefit. That's a bit how I see it.
And there's quite a few things within progression that you don't have control of, like your competition, who you're playing against, what their squad looks like. Just control the things that you can, such as the training, because that's done on the average of the top 16, which obviously you decide what that number looks like at the end of the day. And then you just play your game, play to win, play for promotion. I think progression just comes along with it. If you're playing for promotion, chances are you're gonna have better match ratings and than 6.5 and gain a little bit more from that. And I wouldn't lose sleep over optimal promotion rather than optimal progression.
Exactly, my point also. Yeah, so it naturally kind of you get a bit other bonuses or so.
So I guess next year for you then, David, when you're in Stone, you obviously you want to go straight for back to back, and then is the idea you literally just continue on the promotion charge, or at a point, say if you get back to back promotion again next season into Iron, will you reinvest to bolster up? Are you hoping progression can keep you up, or will there be a point where you go, right, let me sit for a couple of seasons now and see how it all pans out?
Yeah, that's difficult. I mean, I had a 2-year plan coming in. So, sorry, 2-year plan, 2-season plan.
I was going to say, proper footballer now, like I've got 2-season plan, 2-year plan.
Yeah, so and the plan was back-to-back promotions. From there, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't even looked at Iron teams yet, really, in any detail to look how strong they are. I imagine I would be okay in Iron, but the reality is the higher up you go, the harder it's going to be and the better players you need. And if I've been sacrificing progression early on, then I'd probably have to go to market and buy a few or hope that my pack luck improves, because it's been pretty grim so far.
Yeah. Oh, we never spoke about the fact that the season 2 calendar got released, did we? We completely forgot about this.
That's come around quickly as well. For some reason in my mind, I thought, there'll be a couple of weeks gap to do all the, business. There isn't at all, is there? They're like,
it's quick. The turnaround's quicker than, I think it's much quicker than the breakaway, between the breakaway and now, because that was gearing up for season 1. But also it's quicker than what was between the alpha seasons, and I think as a result of that, this pre-contract agreement makes sense, because people who maybe don't have time to build in that small transfer window time frame can now get some stuff done before the season starts. I feel like those two sort of come hand in hand. And then I think the pack drops are on the 18th of December and the 8th of January, both on Wednesday. So we'll be there. We'll be live streaming the drops as we always do. So yeah, hopefully alongside yourself, Dave, will have some better pack luck for us as well.
Yeah, big shout out to you as well for that stream. That was, I think I'd only been playing for like a week or something, and I came on there and was doing okay in the quiz until the MFL questions come up, and then I realised I probably needed to read the white paper. But I really enjoyed that first stream. I didn't catch the last one because I was in Dubai, but it was absolutely brilliant. Really loads of fun doing that quiz. Just the whole stream just felt great.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Jude.
So I say more streams to come with that.
Yeah.
But I was also a bit surprised, that it was so quickly. I thought maybe Christmas holiday, after, but now full on.
The first match day of the season being Christmas Day as well.
Christmas Day, yeah.
Kind of
exactly.
mad. There's a good chance at least 50% of the people, or maximum 50% of the people in NFL are going to have a stinky Christmas because they might lose their game. You had a few drinks and you start raging because you've just conceded a 93rd minute penalty.
You can show all your cousins and uncles and nephews, and you can all show, look at this game. Maybe that's why they planned it.
All out for Christmas is a win. All out for Christmas is a win.
It's probably not a bad idea, is it? Because you will be around, a lot of people will be around different people than they normally would be. So, I'll certainly, I don't know where I'll be at that particular time when my match is, but I'll definitely be putting it on. If I'm just with my mum, she definitely won't give a shit. But but if I'm with other people, then they might do. But
yeah. I might get a question: how is this little football game of you going? What they ask me often. But
I know what will happen in mine. Everyone will all be Boxing Day, and we'll all be around my auntie, my uncles, and all the cousins will be there. It goes, how's your podcast going, Jimbo? I'll be like, oh, here we go. And so someone will get it up on their phone and start blaring out loud. I'm like, oh.
I'm like, who's this other guy?
Yeah, they're like, who's this guy? Who's Calva? Who's all these people? And it's usually about 15 minutes of them just ripping into me.
Taking the piss.
Taking the piss. Good English phrase, that. Yeah. Taking the piss at 15 minutes. But I told them, have they won Alpha season trophies? No. And then they quickly shut them up.
Once you show them your digital trophies and stuff like that, I bet they're, completely turn around, don't they? They're very jealous then.
Yeah, I just show them the banner that I downloaded from the MFL template, and I go, take a look at that.
Nice. Yes, I would just, I see we've been recording over an hour already, but 2 more things we have to do. One is I want to ask you about the MFL Ramble. What are your plans for like the coming maybe weeks, episodes, or longer term? So you want to make more episodes or more guests?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I like, for those that don't know, I have a health condition, Crohn's disease, and I had to stop work like maybe 10 years ago. Just, I find it difficult. Like, I have really bad days and stuff like that. And for me, doing podcasts and actually sort of speaking face to face with people, are often the highlight of my week. I don't get out that much. Sometimes I go out walking and stuff like that, but I don't get out and see friends like I used to, going for drinks, just because I don't feel up to it. So doing the podcast and stuff like that, I just find them, it's like getting face to face with someone. It's just me seeing other people, and I really enjoy doing that. So from a selfish point of view, I just enjoy doing like podcasts. It's been great sort of having sort of new people doing them, like Hoodwink and Hatton. We haven't got Smoggy on yet because he's got a new job. Hopefully we'll have him on at some point as well. And so from a selfish point of view, I just really enjoy doing them and talking about sort of like the things that we'd probably speak about anyway if we were just sitting around in the pub talking about NFL. So we'd like to keep doing them once a week. We'd love to get onto YouTube and start doing them, but that's become a bit of a meme at this point. We've been talking about it for about coming on to 2 years, and we still haven't managed to do it. But one day, people will be forced to look at my aging face. So I think just more of the same. Trying to get different guests on, trying to sort of get guests on who haven't necessarily been on lots of other podcasts or even been on yours, because we don't want to, really don't want to sort of like repeat stuff, and just try and get other people out there. But yeah,
sounds good. Yeah, that's really great.
It's going in a slightly different community, so rather than it just being MFL community, like the numbers that listen to it so far have been nearly as much as listen to the SorareRamble as well.
That's really good.
So, it's hopefully a new sort of audience that are just tuning in just to see what the game's about, and, maybe some of them convert at some point.
Get those referrals, eh? Get those referrals.
Yeah, I do keep forgetting to post that. I do it probably 2 or 3 times a week. Probably need to be a bit more proactive.
Awesome. But... Yeah, so we hope also a lot of When Dirk listeners will tune into the Ramble pod.
Yeah,
and vice versa. Nice synergy.
Well, I can vouch. I had a great time when I was on there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I had a great time. I felt it probably made a bit like yourself right now, David. It feels odd being on the other side of the table, so to speak, and where you're being asked the questions and talking far less than what a host would. But I really enjoyed myself when I was over there.
Yeah. So I think that was an hour and a half, wasn't it? So
well, rambled.
By the end, I had to go. I was like, no, I can't chat anymore. I've literally got to go.
Proper ramble.
It was.
Yeah, proper.
Well, seems like we're also approaching 1.5, but we have one more question from our last guest. So we always ask our guests to answer a question from the previous guest and ask a question to the next one. So Taggart was here last week and he asked, he kind of gave a dilemma. So start, bench, cut. So this is more like an American thing, I would say, or not? Could you say it in English? In traditional English, let's say.
Was it start, bench, cut? I thought it was start, bitch, cut. I
thought it was bench, right?
I think
start a player, bench a player, and kind of
that makes more sense. But it sounded like bitch with his accent.
Bitch. Start bitch cut. Okay. Start bench cut. Yes. So individual player instructions, agent control trainings, and uses for players after retirement. So which one would you start, bench, cut?
Well, I'll start with cut, and I think I had to go with this one just because I feel like the other two are, a lot more important to the game, and I would cut uses for cards after retirement. I don't think that's necessarily because there shouldn't be a use for them. I think there's an opportunity down the line for, the MFL guys to sort of, mint coaches. which can like help with like tactics or help with progression, maybe give you a little boost on progression if you have one of them, and they could sell those. And I think, maybe having one card that potentially could become a coach at the end of the season, is quite a nice thing. But I think that the other two things are so much more important in the short term that I think that would be the one that would cut. Although I do love the idea of doing stuff like that as well. So the one I went with, I put bitch in my notes, but I'll go with bench, is agency-led training focus. And there's nothing worse than when you like log in, you see like your star striker has got a boost and it's on his bloody defending. It's like, I think my monkey's not defending. So I stopped going up. But yeah, so I would love that. But probably not quite as much as like in-player or individual player instructions, which...
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether you guys have any insight. Like Matt gave the impression that it was something like maybe Q1 next year. Definitely not season 2, but maybe after that. But it feels like it's going to be. It feels like it would be a lot of work because whereas now the match engine just has to sort of cope with all of the team instructions, having to do individual instructions feels like it could put a lot of strain on their servers. But
yeah, I think Q1 would probably sound about right. And, we go back, Calvo, correct me if I'm wrong here, but 3-4 months ago, that was discussed about, individual player instructions. And to my knowledge, it's not something they'll have to start fresh on because they have already progressed on it to an extent, I think. But maybe because of things like Season 1, it gets pushed on the back burner a bit into the, to when we've got time to look at. But it's definitely something that once player progression was announced, it was I can't remember what it was that got announced. It was the second that tactics got announced, it was when individual player instructions, basically Taggart kept banging on about, and they were like, yeah, we're going to start working on them. So I think they've already started on it and they've made some progress. But Q1, between January to March next year. January?
I think it's definitely one of the bigger new features that's. Yeah, I think it's one of the top 2, 1, 3 maybe. That's going to be released very soon. But also you can imagine you have now long shots, dribbling. Like what if you just can tell one player to take more long shots and one player to dribble less? The things are kind of already there, but then you just swap it to a player instead of a team. So you can imagine it. And I think they already have kind of this infrastructure. So it should be...
Because I would definitely love to do that with some of my players.
Yeah.
Like some of my players,
definitely,
have like 90 dribbling, but their shooting is like 40 and stuff like that. And and other guys, it's completely the opposite. So I'd like to put, maybe take more shots, but not on all of the players because some of the guys have got absolutely woeful shooting. But yeah,
it could even be on like a basic level. It's literally the team instructions, but you have them do them for players. So it could literally be for players. You go more or less crosses, more or less dribbling, more or less shooting. So it's just, maybe it sort of follows the team instruction, but on an individual basis, it's the same. So it's not completely different instructions.
Yeah, and especially with like a winger, so if you can tell a winger stay wider, cross more, dribble and dribble more, and then shoot less, like make him more like a proper winger or more inverted with dribble and shoot more. Like, yeah, that would be lovely if you can.
I've been having fun at the moment with the team instructions and stuff like that. Like I play a 4-3-3, 2 wingers, and I've been sort of experimenting with having more crosses over the last sort of few games. Trouble is, my striker can't hit a barn door, so they keep crossing, and it's normally him that gets in the end of it. So I've turned that off for now, and my wingers have started scoring again. But yeah. It is,
it would be great.
There is strategy there, but there's definitely, other stuff they can do. But, MFL, they're just a small team, aren't they? So,
Let's see. All right. What would be your question to our next guest?
With your next pack drop, what player would you want that would fit perfectly with the current club you have or clubs? So you can't just say legendary if you're a nice... what position, what stats would you look for? It's a bit of a boring question.
The perfect player in a pack.
Yeah, so what would you like to drop down your MFL chimney? And
Well, quickly talk about Christmas. We're going to get the wrapped up soon for MFL, which should be quite interesting. And then there's also the tweet yesterday about the Christmas tree, then a calendar date, and then a soon. So is this a Christmas event? Some people say Christmas calendar. In my head, a Christmas calendar for MFL that's already 8 days delayed doesn't seem quite fitting.
Yeah, I can't imagine it being that now, because you would have thought they would launch on the 1st, wouldn't you, with that?
Yeah. But any
could
ideas
be
what it could be?
A little speculation. So Wednesday. Well, when was it? Wednesday are the last matches, right?
Wednesday's the last matches.
Yeah, when we're streaming. So then there's quite a 2-week gap till Christmas. So there could be a little Christmas tourney happening. That's Christmas Cup.
Have they done those kind of things before?
Yeah, they have did some other cups or preseason tournaments or breakaway. I think there could be a little Christmas Cup or maybe Christmas alliances, alliance tournament. The
alliance one would be cool, definitely. Yeah. Now there was a Christmas clash last year.
Yeah,
they did an advent calendar last year, and because they brought out a bunch of new formations, so. To get the formation, you might find it behind one of the days in the advent calendar, but also behind some of the days was a ticket to go into the tournament. So not everyone got a chance to go into it. But I think, you're right, Cal. There could be something in between the final matches of the season, which actually I think is next Saturday or Sunday because of the playoffs. But there's still about 7 to 8 days. But obviously, maybe this time next week we know what that looks like. But still exciting nonetheless.
Is that how some of the managers that you play have got special pictures? I noticed one recently, they had one that snow on it and stuff like that, and Santa sat in the corner. Is that from that last year then?
Yeah, that's from the advent calendar. That's from the advent calendar, the snow one. And then there's a couple that are textured. Is that from the same as well? There was the breakaway wheel had a
and the pitch, Christmas pitch, right? With the snow.
Yeah, the Christmas pitch.
Yeah.
And then some people have the countries, which back when I joined you, David, I spoke about my horrendous England manager time with the Euros tournament. If you had a share or a ticket in a country, I think if you had at least one or at least 10, you then got the nation's pitch, so the semicircle or the circle in the middle has the nation's flag on it.
So have you got the England pitch then, or did you have to do well in the tournament to get it?
No, I've got the England. I've got the England and a Romania one because I had a couple of stakes in Romania.
Yeah.
But some people have all of them because they wanted to hoard them, or not hoard them, but you know what I mean. Right. So before we close and wrap up this episode, you're eager and desperate to hear what today's hashtag is. So the hashtag of the pod today, to prove that you've been listening, is hashtag stacking jam. Because Calvert, earlier you were talking about how some of these leagues like Iron or Stone will be stacked full of all these incredibly strong players, and it'll be like a traffic jam, but a stacking jam. So hashtag stacking jam. If you've been listening, get it on Discord, on Twitter. If you've been doing it so far for the last couple of weeks, you know who you are. Thank you all so much. It's great to see them. Before we do close things off, though, I want to give a huge thank you for David for coming on the pod. We will put the SorareRamble links in the show notes, description, all that area below us where you can find all other information. So if you haven't gone and listened to the podcast over there, definitely go check it out. But David, a massive thank you for the time coming on the pod today. Hope you had a good time.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, I really enjoyed talking about the game. So as you can probably tell, that we're already up to an hour and 30 minutes. But I could talk about it all night long at the moment. I love it. But maybe the gap is going to be too long between matches. So hopefully they do have a cup. But thank you again. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks a lot.
It's been great. It's been great to hear about your MFL career, and we can tell just from this conversation the passion, the XP, not the expected points, the expected passion of MFL that runs through you is phenomenal. So thank you all so very much for listening, and we'll catch you this time next week for an episode of the Wendercast. Thank you for listening.